Welcome in another edition of Where the 99 Lead. It's a program brought to you by the University of Pikeville, where we talk all things regarding the University of Pikeville. I'm Andrew Joyce, your host. Today, special guest, Teresa Lockhart, Director of P20 Initiatives and Academic Outreach at the University of Pikeville. Teresa, welcome back in.
Thank you.
P20 Initiatives, okay? That's not something you hear every day. So first of all, let's find out what that means.
My job entails most anything that relates to the public school system. My background's in public education. I taught for 10 years and was an instructional supervisor in the public schools for 10 years.
Right.
So I've worked with the high schools, elementary schools. I know a lot of people in those schools. So when Dr. Hurley hired me, he hired me as Booth Scholars Director. And in the almost 3 years I've been there, I've had 3 titles. This is the third one. So he's kind of added to the job. But I work with the P16 councils in the area, and just basically anything that deals with public schools, I'm there to assist with that connection.
And that ties directly to our topic today. We'll be talking about a special program that reaches into the high schools. Also, as Director of Academic Outreach, and that again, reaching out to the public schools in our region and throughout the recruiting base for the University of Pikeville.
I think there's always been a lack of communication between the school systems and the secondary education, post-secondary education. So, you know, this helps make that tie. They know they can call us and, you know, we'll help with whatever they need help with. So it's making a difference.
Let's talk about Teresa Lockhart and your background. You talked about being involved in the public schools. Let's back up and find out where you come from and how you got your start in education.
Well, I'm a Pike County native. I'm originally from Belfry, graduated from Belfry High School, graduated from Pikeville College with a bachelor's degree. Of course, I have a master's and a rank 1 in education from Moorhead. So I started teaching. My husband's from the Breaks. We lived in Virginia for a while, but I always taught in Pike County. I taught at Elkhorn Elementary for 10 years, and then I came to the central office as an instructional supervisor and worked with all the schools in the county. I just, you know, I love working with children, and so the job I'm doing now still gives me that chance to get back into the high schools and work with the children and with the Booth Scholars, and so I enjoy what I'm doing. It's not the same every day, it's different all the time.
From Belfry to the Breaks, you've covered Pike County from one end to the other.
Yeah.
And a couple of the most beautiful parts of Pike County as well, reaching to the Virginia border. You've been involved in the public schools. You come from Belfry. You were a student at Pikeville College. You certainly know your way around campus, that being the case. Then you returned when? As you said, Dr. Hurley called you and offered you a job.
It'll be 3 years the 1st of September since I came on board as a UPike employee.
Those 3 years, we've seen changes on campus as well.
Have.
Talk about some of the most significant changes you've seen, maybe now, to your time as a student.
The campus looks a lot different than it did when I was there. I think when I first started, we didn't have elevators and it wasn't handicap accessible.
Right.
We still had the Bears Den, you know, where everybody hung out, and the post office was under the Bears Den. We still had actually, the Armington Science Building had just opened when I was a student before.
Right.
I went for 1 year, and then I got married, stayed home for 10 years, had 2 kids, and then came back and finished. And so, of course, there had been some upgrades between then. But again, the biggest thing, obviously, is the Cole Building with the new cafeteria, which the employees, and I think anybody will tell you, we were more excited about that than the students were, because it's great. Cafeteria is great.
And we're seeing a lot of folks from the community come to the cafeteria.
That's what we were just talking the other day. There's so many people from town that are up there almost every day.
Yeah, it's a great place to eat, and overlooking, as Governor Patton calls it, the Pikeville skyline.
Right.
We
yeah,
call
it's a good view.
Some call it the rooftops, and Governor Patton calls it the skyline. And certainly the Cole Building has become a huge part of the Pikeville skyline, and not just that, but Pikeville College, now the University of Pikeville, has been an important part of the skyline of Central Appalachia for years, a shining jewel that continues to change our region. Something that you are involved with is the P20 initiatives. Let's get into P20 initiatives a little deeper.
Okay, I think the biggest thing that I'm involved with right now is the dual credit program. UPike today is what we've named our dual credit program, and that allows high school students to get credit for high school courses and college courses at the same time. So when they go to college, they can go in with some hours and they won't have to retake courses at the college level.
Dual credit, high school credit, that leads towards graduation.
Yeah.
College credit, do those credits apply when they arrive on college campus?
They do. That our courses that they take through us, even if their teachers are teaching them, they will transfer to any college or university.
The type of classes that they take, a little different than, say, I'm going to take a stab in the dark here. I don't know the answer to this question, but is there a dual credit course offered in, say, English?
Yes, we have different courses in different high schools depending on the faculty in the high schools, what they're qualified to teach. We have everything from English to music to biology, chemistry. We even have Spanish in one school. It varies from school to school because every school doesn't have the same teacher qualifications.
Sure.
So we do have a few students that come on campus. Pikeville High School sends students up to take some courses. Jenkins Independent actually buses like 13 or 14 students 3 days a week to take 2 courses.
That's phenomenal.
It is. It's wonderful. They pay their tuition, they buy their books, pay for their transportation. So we had one student from Jenkins graduated with 24 hours this year, and those will transfer.
So basically coming in just shy of being a sophomore academically.
We have one girl from Pikeville High School that graduated this year. She's taken a summer school course, so she will go into college with 30 hours. She'll technically be a sophomore.
What difference would there be in a typical senior English class that a typical high school student takes as opposed to a senior English class that is offered as a dual credit class? What differences would the student see?
The course would be more rigorous. We send sample syllabus from each, like if it's an English 111 course, we'll send a syllabus from one of our teachers. And those teachers in the high school design their curriculum based on our syllabus, and they send that back, and then our department chair will approve or send back for revisions their syllabus. So, and the English department's a very good example because our English department actually requires that the teachers come in to meet in the fall in September. They'll bring them all in. Dr. Riley will send out sample essays for them to score. They come together with our English professors. They talk about how they scored those so they can try to be on the same page and be offering the same things in the high schools that we're getting here on campus.
So those students taking dual credit, they aren't getting a free ride.
No, they have to work for their grades.
Yeah, absolutely. UPike today, dual credit program for high school students. What high schools is this program available to?
We started 3 years ago when Dr. Hurley and Governor Patton took over in 2010. The only students that were coming on campus were Pikeville High School students. There were no dual credit classes in the high schools. When Dr. Hurley came in, he went to Eastridge. He was familiar with Eastridge.
Sure.
He had worked there.
Right.
So he went to Eastridge and they started a pilot program. That was the year before I started. That year we had about 80 dual credit students with Eastridge and Pikeville High School combined. In the spring of 2011, when he decided he wanted me to work with the dual credit, we started visiting schools in the different counties. That next year, 2011-2012, we had 8 schools, 6 districts, 300 students. It went up that much in 1 year. In 2012-2013, last year, we were in, we added another school and we added another district, and we had almost 400, well, we had a little over 400 students in the fall. So this year already we have 13 schools committed in 8 different districts. All the schools in Pike County have at least 6 hours dual credit in their schools. We have Knott County, Letcher County, Johnson County, Pikeville Independent. We have even Bourbon County High School in Bourbon County, Kentucky has dual credit. Knott County, we just, I mean, you know, just all the districts around us have become involved in it.
And we talk about students gaining dual credit. They gain credits toward high school graduation, obviously, and then they enter the University of Pikeville. They carry those credits with them. So many can be approaching a sophomore when they come to campus with the dual credit program. How has it affected enrollment? Out of these students that are involved in dual credit, are we seeing more of those students arrive at the University of Pikeville that might not have prior to the program?
I think it's helping us some with that. Of course, some of those students want to major in things that we don't have. We have several of those students that are going into engineering. We can do the pre-engineering at UPike.
Right.
But if they choose to go to another college, those courses will still transfer. So it's still helping them. But I think some of them are coming on campus, and they can receive a supplemental scholarship if they take 5 dual credit hours through UPike and have a 3-point average in those classes, then they're eligible for a $2,000 a year supplemental scholarship.
Talking with Teresa Lockhart, Director of P20 Initiatives and Academic Outreach at the University of Pikeville. We're talking about the dual credit program available at the University of Pikeville and offered in several area schools. 13 schools now?
It will be 13 so far, and there's a couple that will offer the courses if they can have some faculty, if they can find some faculty that can teach it.
Of course, UPike today, the dual credit program has grown substantially. We just got a little timeline of that program during the last 4 years, and it's also been recognized nationally as a model program. I haven't heard a lot about these type of programs, but are these offered through many colleges throughout Kentucky just to focus on our state?
I know the Big Sandy offers some courses. Moorhead, obviously has been in this district for a while, and they still offer some courses in the district. So I'm not sure about like UK and U of L. I don't know if they do the dual credit, but we just the last 4 years is when we picked it up and run with it for the last 3 years. So it's helping the students.
What do you attribute the growth of the program to?
Just knowing that it's here and knowing that it's helping those students, because it is rigorous and it's exposing them to college curriculum, and it's just giving them an idea of what it's going to be like when they go to college.
Makes a huge difference for the student. We've talked about that.
It does.
Makes a huge difference for the parents as well.
Yes.
That you talked about a student who after a summer school course can arrive on campus with 30 hours complete, go into college as a sophomore. That's a huge saving to a parent who has just saved a year's worth of tuition.
And it's even more of a savings because the only thing we charge is a $25 application fee. Like in August, when the students register for their classes in the high schools, they pay $25. And that, if they take 20 hours that year at their high school, that's all it costs is $25.
Wow. Are you currently looking to expanding into even more schools and even more districts?
I don't know how much farther we can go because I'm the only one right now that works with the program.
Sure.
And I visit each one of those classrooms once a semester and just do a teacher observation just to kind of make sure, they're on the same page that we are.
Right.
So, I mean, of course, if there's more schools that are interested, and we have talked to a couple more districts, a couple more high schools, but at this time they don't have any faculty that have meet the requirements to teach the courses.
What type of requirements does a faculty member at a high school, what do they have?
The teacher has to have a master's with 18 hours in their field. Like if they want to teach English, they have to have a master's with 18 hours in English. Mm-hmm. And that's hard to find because a lot of them just do a master's in education and they may have 9, 12 hours in their content, but they won't have the full 18 hours. And if they have that 18 hours, we get copies of their transcripts. Dr. Hess, our academic dean, will look at that and approve, that they can teach the course. Then they have to do 2 letters of recommendation, a faculty form, a resume, and then they're considered to be part of our staff at UPike.
Is it fair to say that these are some of the top educators in our region?
Yes, it is.
So we have high schools that have tremendous teachers.
Yes, we do.
And I think we knew that before the program, that we had some high achieving teachers out there that were putting out a great product, and that being quality students. Now the University of Pikeville brings these students and faculty to campus through the dual credit program, saving parents some money, giving students a head start into college. Does this help a high school student achieve once they arrive on campus because they've already endured some of these more rigorous classes?
I think it does, and we don't have any data at this point to support that. But I mean, I talk to a lot of those students, when I'm in the classes, and they'll tell you that this is not your typical high school English course or your typical high school math course. We do much more. We're just becoming more familiar with what college is going to be like.
Students that enroll in dual credit courses, I would imagine, are a little more focused as well, not just looking for that graduation, that diploma.
They're pretty serious about what they're doing, and they have to have an 18 composite on the ACT. If they're going to take an English course, they have to have an 18 in English, and if they want to do college algebra, they have to have a 19 in math. So there's requirements for them as well.
At what grade level can a high school student begin dual credit?
Juniors and seniors.
So freshmen that are high achieving, maybe that want to get a little head start.
There is an exception occasionally. We did have one student the first year I worked with the program that had taken every math course the high school had, so he was allowed to take an upper level course. But other than that, we pretty much think they need to be juniors and seniors to have maturity and just to be ready to take the courses.
Right. Talking with Teresa Lockhart, Director of the P20 Initiatives and Academic Outreach Director at the University of Pikeville. Today we talk about the dual credit program, and it's received national acclaim as a model program, granting dual credit to high school students throughout the region. Now 13 schools involved in the program, and a couple of more could become part of the program. Already nearly 400 students involved last year from those various schools. Maybe someone needs to call Dr. Hurley and get you some help.
I'm okay right now. As long as it doesn't go too much farther, I can make it.
400 students, 13 schools. How many faculty?
20. It'll vary by semester. I think this past semester I had about 22 classrooms to visit. Of course, the fall courses and the spring courses are different,
sure.
So we have a different number, each semester, but we have 20-some faculty.
Keeps Teresa Lockhart busy.
Keeps me busy.
Guarantee it. Let's talk about it. We touched on these briefly earlier when I was trying to come up with a comparison of senior English classes, but let's talk about the courses that are offered through the dual credit with the University of Pikeville and the high schools. What courses are out there?
Well, we have not turned any course down that has a teacher that's qualified to teach it. Dr. Hess is really good to look at, what they can teach. Like in one high school we have world history, another high school we have American history, we have chemistry, we have physics in a couple of schools. Next year, actually, Belfry High School's adding human anatomy and physiology, and that's the first time that's been offered, and it'll be 2 semesters, so those kids will be able to get 8 hours in that. And that's a big hunk of the nursing basics for the nursing program. Sure. So students that are interested in the nursing program in that area will be eligible to take those 8 hours. Like I said, we have English, we have college algebra. We actually had calculus at Pikeville High School last year, but Mr. Belcher went to the central office as a supervisor. But he almost has a doctorate in math, and that's the only time calculus has been taught off campus. So there's a variety. We have a political science course in one school. We have a school that has PE courses. Just depends on the faculty and what they can teach.
Right, and of course, you talk about 400 students throughout the 13 schools that are serviced, but there's a need for faculty. You talk about faculty having to be specialized, 18 master's credit hours in their course of instruction. If there are faculty out there who are working toward advancing their degree as they pick up those credit hours, then obviously you'd love to talk to them about expanding the program.
We're trying to encourage new teachers as they're hired in high schools to go into their field, instead of just doing a master's in education, get your master's in math or your master's in English. Because right now, more schools are leaning toward the dual credit than they are the AP courses.
Right.
Because they have guaranteed credit if they pass the dual credit course. But the AP, they have to take the exam and pass the test, and they don't always do that. So more schools are leaning toward the dual credit.
I think that's something that maybe parents were more familiar with, were the AP courses, but they do have to test to gain that credit. What are the differences in those two different programs, dual credit versus AP?
Well, I think basically the AP is going to have the rigor. You know, it's going to be a tougher course than a regular high school course. But like I said, you know, if the student makes a, B, or C in a dual credit course, then they're going to get the college credit for the course. If they don't, I mean, it's not you take one test and it determines whether or not you get the college credit like with the AP. And most schools now are requiring at least a 4 on an AP exam before they'll get the college credit.
Some students don't test well.
No, some students don't test well. They'll do really well on their high school work and they'll do well in their courses on their test in class, but when it comes to sit down and take a big major test, some of them just don't do well.
Talking about the University of Pikeville's dual credit program available to high school students, 13 schools, several districts throughout the region, and if you're a parent, you're tuned in, or maybe a high achieving student and you're interested in this program and you'd like more information, then go to the website, of course, upike.edu, and you can find out more information about the dual credit program. Talking with Teresa Lockhart, Director of P20's Initiative and Academic Outreach at the UPike. The dual credit program at the University of Pikeville, what's it cost? We mentioned the $25 fee.
That's it.
There's got to be more.
No, not unless they come on campus. If they come on campus and take a course, it's $100 a credit hour, which is still way less than half of what a normal course would cost.
But the classes that are granting dual credit in the high schools, $25.
$25, and that's considered just an application fee. So really, it's not costing them anything. Wow. Some of the districts are paying for it.
Even paying for the $25 fee.
Right. And if they have students that struggle financially, the schools are taking care of it. It's not been an issue.
If a student wants to come to campus and take a dual credit class on campus, you mentioned $100 per credit hour. There's scholarship opportunities available for those students.
Not for those students, no, we haven't had, it's going to count as a dual credit course, sure. But as far as scholarship money to pay that fee of $100 a credit hour, we don't have a scholarship set aside for that.
Very good program, and I'm rolling through the figures in my head of what it costs for a freshman to complete 30 hours of coursework. And it's a huge amount of money. Well, when you take a year's worth of college away.
Our tuition is $17,750 a year. That's before any financial aid, before any academic scholarships. So, and average load is 12 to 15 hours for a freshman. So if you've got 30 hours, that's almost $18,000, and you've gotten it for $25, $50 at
Besides
the most.
room and board, because they're still hanging out with mom and dad.
Right.
Mom and dad are taking care of room and board. So basically a student could eliminate a year's worth of college. Huge benefit. What are some of the other benefits to the program for students?
One thing we're also doing as far as they don't always have to buy textbooks either. If the departments at the high schools have textbooks that are similar to what we're using, our department chairs will look at their books, and most of the time they'll approve what the high schools are using. If they do have to have a set of books, I know we have one school that there's a business in town that will purchase those books. They'll keep a classroom set. They'll use them, the next year. So we don't require that they use exactly what we use. So that's a savings for them as well. They're not having to invest all that money into textbooks.
If someone wants more information on the UPike Today program, the dual credit program at the University of Pikeville, how can they get that?
My email is Teresa Lockhart at upike.edu. My office number is 606-218-5306, and anytime anyone wants to call, I'll be glad to speak to them about the dual credit.
If there are schools out there that like to be part of the program, they must bring Teresa Lockhart help with them before they can be a part of the program.
Well, I start the process. Dr. Hess either approves or says this teacher doesn't have enough hours to teach, and then we just kind of work from there. But we just basically go in, I talk to the principal, guidance counselors to see, what they have, what they're already offering, and some of them have switched us because there's a difference in the cost.
Sure. I would imagine that this is a program that many schools want to be a part of. and it's just having the faculty that are able to do
Right.
it. You mentioned Jenkins Independent. What a huge benefit for students at Jenkins Independent, actually busing their students
Right.
to campus.
And they're adding this fall, they're going to be able to add 2 music sequence courses in their curriculum at the school. They have a teacher now that can teach music, so they will have some on campus for students as well.
Wow. It's a tremendous program. It's UPike Today, and it is a dual credit program offering high school credit along with college credit while students are still in their junior and senior years of high school. And what a tremendous benefit for students throughout our region. 13 schools a part of that program now, and students already arriving on campuses with those credits out of the way. They've got a head start on college. Teresa Lockhart, director of the program at the University of Pikeville, and I think it's a program that's already gained national acclaim as a model program, and I think this program will continue to grow and grow.
I think it will.
Teresa Lockhart, director of P20's Initiative and Academic Outreach at the University of Pikeville. You've been tuned to Where the 99 Lead, a program brought to you by the University of Pikeville, talking all things regarding the University of Pikeville, the leading university of Central Appalachia.